The bright screens of Earth's deep space monitoring station lit up the otherwise dark room. Jack, the night shift operator, rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the unusual readings on his monitor. At first, he thought he was seeing things. A massive energy signature at the edge of the solar system, unlike anything recorded before. "Hey Bill, come take a look at this," Jack called out to his supervisor, who was making his usual midnight coffee run. Bill walked over, coffee cup in hand, and nearly dropped it when he saw the readings. "Get the Space Command on the line. Now." Within hours, the Earth Space Command vessel, Horizon, was preparing for an emergency launch. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge, reviewing the mission details with his crew. At 42, Walker was one of the most experienced captains in the fleet, known for his calm demeanor in unusual situations. This situation definitely qualified as unusual. "The energy signature is massive," Walker explained to his crew during the briefing. "Whatever it is, it's bigger than anything humanity has put in space. We're looking at something at least 3 times the size of our largest space station." The Horizon's chief engineer, Lisa, raised her hand. "Sir, the pattern of the energy readings is strange. It's like watching a heartbeat getting weaker." "That's exactly why we're going." Walker nodded. "If something that big is out there and dying, we need to know what it is." The launch was smooth, and the Horizon pushed through space at maximum safe speed. The crew of 30 was a mix of excited and nervous. This was the kind of mission they trained for, but never expected to face. First contact was always a possibility for deep space missions, but until now, humanity had found only traces of ancient civilizations. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors began picking up more detail. The energy signature wasn't coming from one massive object, but from several dozen large vessels, clustered together in a fleet formation. "My God," Walker whispered as the fleet came into visual range. The alien ships were beautiful. They looked like crystal sculptures floating in space, with geometric patterns that seemed to flow across their surfaces. But something was clearly wrong. The ships were dark, with only faint pulses of light occasionally flickering through their crystalline hulls. "No signs of active propulsion," reported Mike from the sensor station. "They're just drifting. Temperature readings suggest most systems are powered down. But sir, we're detecting life signs. Thousands of them, but they're very weak." Walker made a decision. "Take us in closer, but maintain safe distance. Launch probes for detailed scans, and get Earth on the line. They need to see this." The probe's data painted a clearer picture. The alien fleet appeared to be made up of civilian vessels. No weapons systems were detected. Instead, the ships were filled with what looked like suspended animation chambers, each holding a crystalline being. "Sir," Lisa called out suddenly, "one of the ships is activating something. It looks like an emergency beacon." A soft, pulsing light began emanating from the closest ship, accompanied by a complex pattern of electromagnetic signals. The ship's computer worked to decode them, and slowly, patterns emerged in the data. "It's a message," the communications officer announced. "They're asking for help. The universal translation matrix is still processing, but the basic meaning is clear. They're refugees, and their systems are failing." Walker looked at the beautiful, the dying fleet before them. This was exactly the kind of moment humanity had prepared for. A chance to prove themselves as a spacefaring civilization. He opened a channel to Earth Command. "Command, this is Walker. We found them, and they need our help. Requesting immediate authorization to begin rescue operations. Sending all data now. These people don't have much time." As the Horizon maintained its position near the alien fleet, the crew waited for Earth's response. They were about to become part of history. The day humanity stepped up to save an advanced alien civilization. The irony wasn't lost on Walker. Their primitive species was about to attempt saving beings whose technology they could barely understand. The waiting game had begun, and somewhere in those crystal ships, Thousands of lives hung in the balance. Earth Command's response came faster than anyone expected. Horizon, you have authorization to proceed with first contact protocols. Be careful, Captain Walker. The crew watched in amazement as the alien ship's crystal surface began to glow brighter in response to their approach. A section of the hull shifted, revealing what appeared to be an entrance. Walker assembled a first contact team. Himself, Lisa the engineer, Dr. Pete the medical officer, and 2 security personnel, Mark and Rob. Remember, Walker told his team as they prepared to board, "We're here to help. Keep your weapons holstered unless absolutely necessary." Their shuttle docked with the alien vessel with surprising ease, as if the systems were compatible by design. The interior of the ship was even more beautiful than the outside, corridors of translucent crystal that seemed to sing with faint pulses of light. "These readings are fascinating," Lisa said, checking her scanner. "The whole ship is like one giant circuit, but most systems are running on minimal power." They followed the brightening path of lights through the ship until they reached what appeared to be a control center. In the middle of the room, a single crystal pod was activating. The surface became transparent, revealing a being made of living crystal. The creature opened its eyes, or what seemed to be eyes, and stepped out of the pod with fluid grace. It stood slightly taller than a human, its crystalline body catching and refracting the ship's dim lights in mesmerizing patterns. "I am Ray," the being spoke, its words somehow converting to English in their minds. "Ambassador of the Luminary, you have received our distress signal." Walker stepped forward. "I'm Captain James Walker of the Earth vessel Horizon. We're here to help." Ray's crystal form flickered with what might have been surprise. "Earth, your species is younger than we expected. We detected your radio signals but believed you were centuries from achieving space travel. We work fast," Lisa said with a slight smile. "Can you tell us what happened to your fleet?" Ray's form dimmed slightly. "We were fleeing the death of our star system. Our scientists predicted the collapse, but it came faster than expected. We had to evacuate millions. These ships carry the last of our people, but in our haste..." Ray paused, its crystal structure clouding with what looked like grief. "Our main power cores were damaged during the escape. We diverted all remaining power to the stasis systems, keeping our people alive while we sent out distress signals. But even those are failing now." Dr. Pete was scanning the stasis pods visible through the crystal walls. "These life signs are getting weaker. How long do we have?" "Days, perhaps," Ray answered. "Our backup systems are failing one by one. We had hoped to be found by one of the elder species, but..." The ambassador turned to face Walker directly. "Can your people help us? Do you have the technology?" Walker looked around the advanced alien ship, then back at Ray. "Our technology might be different from yours, but we're good at solving problems. We'll need to understand your power systems." Lisa was already examining a control panel. "The technology is complex, but the principles seem similar to our own fusion systems, with some modifications." "Fusion." Ray's form brightened with interest. "You've mastered nuclear fusion, but your civilization is so young." "Like I said," Walker smiled, "we work fast. Lisa, contact the Horizon. Tell them to prepare for a full technical briefing. Ray, we'll need to know everything about your power systems." "Of course," Ray agreed, but hesitated. "Captain Walker, there are 10,000 of my people in stasis on this ship alone. And this is just one of 30 ships. Can your world handle helping so many?" Walker's expression was firm. "We'll make it work. That's what humans do best. We find a way. Now let's get started. We have thousands of lives to save and not much time to do it." As the human team began their work, Ray watched them with growing wonder. Perhaps being found by a younger species wasn't a mistake after all. Sometimes, the youngest minds had the freshest solutions to old problems. The news of the stranded alien fleet spread across Earth like wildfire. Within 24 hours, the United Earth Council gathered for an emergency meeting. Representatives from every major nation sat around the massive circular table in Geneva, watching the video feed from the horizon. Tom Miller, Earth's leading fusion reactor engineer, stood before the council. His usual neat appearance was replaced by someone who had clearly worked through the night, his sleeves rolled up and hair messy. "The luminary ships are marvels of engineering," Tom explained, pointing to the holographic display. "But their power system is dying. They tried to push their engines too hard during their escape, and it damaged the crystal matrices that channel their energy. Can we help them?" asked the council president, an older woman named Helen. "Their technology seems far beyond ours." Tom smiled. "Actually, that's where it gets interesting. Their technology isn't just more advanced, it's fundamentally different. They based everything on crystal matrices and energy fields. We went a completely different route with metal, radiation shielding, and good old-fashioned nuclear fusion." The room buzzed with murmurs as Tom continued. "Here's the crazy part. Our primitive fusion reactors might be exactly what they need. We can't fix their crystal matrices, but we can give them raw power. Lots of it." "What are you suggesting?" Helen leaned forward. "We modify our latest fusion reactors to interface with their systems. It won't be pretty, but it'll work. Like jumping a car battery, but on a massive scale." The Chinese representative stood up. "The cost would be enormous. We're talking about powering 30 massive ships." "The technical challenge is immense," added the Russian representative. "If we make a mistake, we could cause a catastrophic reaction." Tom nodded. "That's why I'm proposing Operation Bootstrap. We'll start with one ship as a test case. I've already been working with Lisa from the Horizon and the Luminary Ambassador Ray. We've designed a prototype interface." He pulled up another diagram. "We'll need to build custom fusion reactors, smaller than our power plant versions, but more robust. Each ship will need 3 of them. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's difficult. But think about what we gain." The Indian representative spoke up. "The technical knowledge alone would be priceless. The Luminary could help us advance our own technology by decades." "It's not just about technology," Tom said firmly. "There are 10,000 people in each of those ships, 300,000 lives in total. If we turn our backs on them, what does that say about humanity?" The room fell silent. Helen looked around at the representatives, then back at Tom. "How long would it take?" "If we get full cooperation from every major nation, we can have the first prototype ready in 2 weeks. If it works, we can scale up production and have enough reactors for all ships within 2 months." "The Luminary don't have 2 months," someone pointed out. "No, they don't," Tom agreed. "That's why we're going to build them faster than anything has ever been built before. Round-the-clock shifts, every engineer and physicist who can help, unlimited resources." He paused. "We do the impossible because it needs to be done. That's what makes us human." Helen stood up. "All in favor of authorizing Operation Bootstrap?" Hands rose around the room, slowly at first, then faster. Within minutes, the vote was unanimous. "Very well," Helen announced. "Operation Bootstrap is approved. Mr. Miller, you have everything you need. Don't make us regret this." Tom was already heading for the door, his phone out. "Lisa, it's approved. Get Ray ready. We're going to need everything they can tell us about their power distribution systems, and call everyone on my list. It's time to make history." As the council chamber emptied, Helen watched the hologram of the crystal ships slowly rotating above the table. Humanity was about to attempt something unprecedented, saving an alien civilization with technology that the aliens had probably considered obsolete. She smiled. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. The massive assembly facility outside Houston buzzed with activity day and night. Engineers and technicians from every space-capable nation worked in shifts, racing to build the first prototype fusion reactor. Tom Miller hadn't slept properly in days, surviving on coffee and determination. "The simulations look good," Lisa said through the video link from the Horizon. Her face showed the same exhaustion as Tom's, but Ray's getting worried. 3 more stasis pods failed in the last hour. Tom ran his hands through his messy hair. Show me the latest power readings. The screen filled with data. Ray's crystalline form appeared next to Lisa. The backup systems are failing faster than we predicted, the alien ambassador said. The energy cascade is accelerating. Explain that in simple terms, Tom requested, waving over his lead technician, Joe. When one stasis pod fails, it puts more strain on the others, Ray explained. Like dominoes, each failure makes the next one more likely. Joe pointed to a set of blueprints. Boss, we've got another problem. The interface connection isn't holding under full power. The metal keeps warping from the heat. Tom stared at the failed connection joint, his mind racing. They were trying to merge 2 completely different technologies. Earth's rugged, heat-generating fusion power with the luminary's delicate crystal energy matrices. It was like trying to connect a fire hose to a wine glass. Suddenly, Tom straightened up. We're thinking about this wrong. Ray, your ship's crystal matrices, they're not just power conduits, are they? They're alive in some way. Ray's form brightened. Yes, the crystals grow and adapt. It's why our technology is so efficient. And that's why our connection keeps failing, Tom said excitedly. We're trying to force it. Lisa, remember what you said when you first scanned their ship. The whole thing is like one giant circuit. Lisa's eyes widened. Of course, we don't need to build a connection. We need to grow one. Tom was already redrawing the blueprints. Joe, get me those experimental crystal growth chambers from the geology lab. Ray, we need every bit of information you have about how your ship's crystals form and grow. For the next 48 hours, the team worked on growing crystal interfaces. The first 3 attempts failed, shattering under the power load. The 4th attempt survived for 10 minutes before cracking. But the 5th attempt, it's holding, Joe shouted, watching the power readings climb. The hybrid connection glowed with a beautiful blue light, human-made fusion power flowing smoothly into the luminary crystal matrix. Ray, Tom called through the video link. What are you seeing on your end? The alien ambassador was studying the ship's readings. The power transfer is stable. It's actually more efficient than our original systems. The crystal is adapting to the fusion energy, creating new patterns we've never seen before. Lisa ran another scan. The modified crystal is acting like a natural transformer, stepping the power up and down as needed. It's beautiful. But their celebration was cut short by an alarm from the luminary ship. Ray's form flickered with distress. We're losing more pods. The power is stable, but we need more of it. Much more. Tom turned to the waiting government officials. The prototype works. Now we need to scale up. Fast. How many reactors? The project coordinator asked. All of them. Every fusion reactor being built, every crystal growth chamber we can find. And we need more people. Tom looked at the clock. We've proven it can work. Now we need to do it 90 more times in less than a month. The coordinator was already on his phone. I'll have 3 more assembly facilities online by tomorrow. China's offering 2 more. Russia's converting an old rocket factory. Tom looked at the successful prototype, its blue glow reflecting in his tired eyes. They had solved the impossible problem of connecting human and alien technology. Now they just had to do it 90 more times, all while thousands of lives hung in the balance. Just another day of being human. The situation was getting desperate. Despite the success with the prototype, they were still losing too many stasis pods. Tom Miller sat in the Houston facility's break room, staring at his cold coffee, when an unexpected visitor arrived. Maria West walked into the room, her gray hair tied back in a practical bun. At 65, she had retired from deep-sea engineering 5 years ago, but the news broadcasts about the alien fleet had drawn her out of retirement. Your power transfer system is good, she said without introduction, dropping a thick folder on the table. But you're thinking like a space engineer. You need to think like a deep-sea engineer. Tom looked up, confused. What do you mean? I spent 30 years designing power systems for deep-sea stations, Maria explained, spreading out her old blueprints. Do you know what's similar between deep ocean and space? Pressure differences. Massive ones. Through the video link, Ray watched with interest as Maria explained her idea. The alien ambassador's crystal form sparkled with curiosity. Look, Maria pointed to her designs. We solved this problem years ago for underwater power stations. The pressure difference between sea level and the ocean floor is enormous. We had to design special containment systems that could handle sudden pressure changes without failing. Tom's eyes widened as he understood. And the power difference between our fusion reactors and the luminary systems. Exactly, Maria nodded. It's the same principle. You're trying to manage a massive power differential, but instead of fighting it, we need to work with it. She pulled out more blueprints. See these pressure adaptive chambers we used. We can modify them to handle power instead of water pressure. The system automatically adjusts to maintain stability, just like in deep-sea conditions. Ray's voice came through the link. This could work. Our crystal matrices are failing because they can't handle the sudden power surges. But with a flexible system, the power flow would smooth out, Tom finished. Joe, get over here. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Maria's deep-sea technology was adapted for the fusion reactors. They built a test system using parts from old underwater stations, modified to handle power instead of water pressure. Ready for test run, Joe announced, his hand steady on the controls. The system hummed to life. Power began flowing from the fusion reactor, through Maria's adaptive chambers, and into the crystal matrix. The readings stayed stable. Power at 20%, Joe called out. 30%, 50%. Ray watched the readings on the ship's end. The crystal matrix is accepting the power smoothly. No stress fractures forming. 70%, 90%. Full power. The system glowed brightly but remained stable. The adaptive chambers pulsed rhythmically, managing the power flow perfectly. On the ship, the crystal matrix absorbed the energy without any signs of strain. It's working, Tom breathed. Maria, you're a genius. The older engineer smiled. Sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected places. The ocean taught us these lessons years ago. We just needed to apply them differently. Ray's form glowed with excitement. This system, it's unlike anything our people have conceived. We always believed perfect energy transfer required perfect crystalline structures. But this organic, adaptive approach, it's revolutionary. The project coordinator was already making calls. We can modify the existing production lines to incorporate these changes. It will add maybe 2 days to production, but the improved stability is worth it. Maria studied the working prototype with satisfaction. You space engineers always try to make everything perfect and precise. Sometimes you need to let things flow naturally, work with the forces instead of against them. Tom looked at the elegant simplicity of the solution. A retired deep-sea engineer had solved a problem that had stumped both human and alien experts. It was such a human solution, taking knowledge from one field and creatively applying it to solve a completely different problem. Thank you, Maria, he said sincerely. You just helped save thousands of lives. She patted his shoulder. That's the thing about experience, young man. You never know when it might come in handy. Now let's get these systems built. We've got an alien fleet to save. 1 month after Maria's breakthrough, the first full-scale revival began. The luminary ship hummed with power from 3 human-made fusion reactors, their energy flowing smoothly through the adaptive chambers. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching the process through the view screen. All power systems are stable, Lisa reported from her station. Crystal matrices are at full strength, ready to begin wake-up sequence. Ray stood among the humans, its crystalline form glowing with anticipation. My people have slept for so long. Some of them went into stasis believing they would never wake up. Tom and Maria watched from Earth through the video link as the revival process began. The stasis pods started to glow one by one, like stars appearing in an evening sky. Inside each pod, the crystalline forms of the luminary began to stir. The first to awaken was the ship's captain, a luminary named Bright. As the pod opened, Bright stepped out, its crystal body catching the light in rainbow patterns. The alien captain looked around in confusion at the hybrid technology now powering their ship. "Welcome back," Ray said warmly. "There is much to explain." As Ray told the story of their rescue, more luminary awakened. They gathered around, their crystal bodies creating a spectacular light show as they moved and reacted to the tale. Their expressions of surprise were visible in the changing patterns of their crystalline forms. "A younger species?" Bright asked, studying the humans with growing wonder. "You achieved what the elder races thought impossible." "How?" "We didn't know it was supposed to be impossible," Tom said simply through the video link. "We just saw a problem that needed solving." Maria nodded. "Sometimes the best solutions come from simple beginnings. We learned from the ocean, from the Earth itself. Your technology is beautiful, but ours is built to endure." One of the awakened luminary engineers examined the fusion reactors and adaptive chambers. Its form flickered with what seemed to be disbelief. "This technology, it's so different from our approach. The power flow through these adaptive chambers. It's like watching a river find its path. We always tried to control energy completely. But this works with it naturally." More and more luminary awakened, each reacting with amazement to the story of their rescue. 10,000 crystal beings, gradually filling the ship with light and motion. The humans watched in awe as the luminary moved through their ship, their bodies creating ever-changing patterns of light and color. "Our entire understanding of technological progress needs to be reconsidered," Bright announced. "We believed advancement was linear, that younger species would follow the same path we did. But you humans, you found your own way." Lisa smiled. "We're good at that, finding different ways to solve problems." "The other ships," Bright turned to Ray. "Can they all be revived?" Ray's form brightened. "The humans have already built enough reactors for every ship. Teams are standing by to begin installation as soon as we confirm this revival is successful." A murmur of appreciation rippled through the gathered luminary, visible as waves of light passing through their crystal bodies. Many approached the humans, their forms glowing with gratitude. "We owe you our lives," Bright said formally to Captain Walker. "The luminary will not forget this debt." Walker shook his head. "There's no debt. This is what humans do. We help when we can." Though he smiled, "We wouldn't say no to learning more about your technology in return." The crystal beings laughed, the sound like chimes in the wind, their bodies sparkling with amusement and joy. The ship was alive again, filled with light and movement and hope. On Earth, Tom and Maria watched through the video feed, satisfied. Humanity had done what it did best, found an unexpected solution to an impossible problem. And in doing so, they had not only saved a civilization, but proved that sometimes the best innovations come from the most unexpected places. 6 months after the first revival, the last luminary ship powered up with its new human-made fusion reactors. All 300,000 crystal beings were now awake and safe. The massive fleet hung in Earth's orbit, their crystal hulls gleaming in the sunlight like a constellation of artificial stars. In the newly built Earth Luminary Conference Center in Geneva, humans and aliens gathered to discuss the future. The room was specially designed to accommodate both species, with crystal growth chambers for the luminary and comfortable seating for the humans. Tom Miller sat next to Maria West, both now wearing formal clothes instead of their usual work gear. Ray and Bright represented the luminary, their crystal forms glowing with subtle patterns that the humans had learned meant happiness and excitement. "The last 6 months have taught us much," Bright addressed the gathered assembly. "We came to your solar system as refugees, thinking our advanced technology had failed us. Instead, we found a young species whose different approach to technology saved our entire civilization. Helen, the council president, smiled. And in return, you've shared knowledge that has helped us understand the universe in new ways. Our scientists are still amazed by your crystal computing systems. That's exactly what we want to discuss today, Ray said. Its form sparkled with enthusiasm. We propose a joint human luminary space exploration initiative. The room buzzed with excitement as Bright projected a hologram of a new ship design. It was beautiful, a perfect blend of human and luminary technology. Solid metal frameworks supported growing crystal matrices, while fusion reactors powered adaptive crystal energy systems. This ship represents the best of both our peoples, Bright explained. Human durability and practical innovation, combined with luminary crystal technology and efficiency. Together, we can explore further than either of our species could alone. Tom studied the design with professional appreciation. The hybrid systems we developed for the rescue operation were just the beginning. This design takes that cooperation to a whole new level. We've already selected possible crew members from both species, Ray added. Captain Walker has agreed to lead the first mission, with Bright as co-commander. Lisa, who had been promoted to chief engineer of the initiative, pulled up more technical details. The ship will carry a team of human and luminary engineers. We're calling it the Horizon Bridge, named after both the ship that found the luminary fleet and the way it bridges our two civilizations. Maria nodded approvingly. It's amazing how far we've come. From an emergency rescue operation to a full partnership between species. The Assembly voted unanimously to approve the initiative. As humans and luminary mingled afterward, sharing ideas and plans, Helen approached Tom and Maria. Did you ever imagine, when you were working on those first fusion reactors, that it would lead to this? She asked. Tom shook his head. We were just trying to save lives. But that's always been humanity's strength, hasn't it? We solve the problem in front of us. And that leads to even greater things. The universe is vast. Ray joined them, its crystal form glowing warmly. There are wonders out there that neither of our species has dreamed of. Together, we can find them. Outside the conference center, the sun was setting. Its light caught the crystal ships in orbit, creating a spectacular display of color across the sky. People stopped to watch, human children pointing up in wonder, while luminary young, their crystal forms still small and growing, flickered with excitement. You know what the best part is? Maria said, watching the light show. This is just the beginning. Every problem we solve together, every challenge we face, makes both our species stronger. The first Horizon Bridge would launch in 3 months, carrying the dreams and hopes of two very different species. Humans had not only saved the luminary, they had proven that sometimes the best way forward is to combine the wisdom of age with the innovative spirit of youth. In the end, it wasn't about advanced or primitive technology. It was about finding new ways to solve problems, about learning from each other, and about working together to build something greater than either species could achieve alone. The future was bright indeed, glowing with both starlight and crystal light, promising adventures that neither humans nor luminary could have imagined before their paths crossed in the depths of space.